So with that, we want to bring in someone who has worked on a very big operation to remove criminal migrants from his state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he helped ICE with what it calls a first-of-the-kind immigration operation, making more than 1,000 arrests over the course of just about 5 days. Governor, good to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us today. I want to get your thoughts just broadly on this Abrego Garcia situation, because he has a lot of defenders who apparently didn't know a lot of the details when they started jumping on his bandwagon.
Well, I think it's bizarre that you see these Democrat politicians making a pilgrimage down there, to sit there with this guy, because I never have seen those Democrat politicians meet with angel moms who've lost kids because of illegal alien crime. I've never seen them show any sympathy for people, American citizens, whose lives have been upended because of the open border policies when Joe Biden was president. And so it's just odd that they're so interested in somebody who came to the country illegally, who obviously has a very checkered background, but they don't seem to show that same zeal in defending their own American constituents.
So you had a bit of a back and forth. We showed it earlier before we went to the break with a local reporter in Florida who basically said that ICE is deporting people who have American birth certificates. And she said that the operation has been sloppy from ICE. And we heard you go back at that reporter a bit on that. What about that accusation about ICE in Florida and the exchange?
I have not seen that at all. I think that's a phony narrative. Think about it, Martha. We have limited resources with ICE, and then at the state and local, we're the only state in the country that requires participation with all of our law enforcement agencies throughout Florida. That's one of the reasons why we have much bigger numbers. But why would you want to exert resources on some American citizen? That's not what this is about. So I think it's a phony narrative. I don't think ICE is doing that intentionally at all. And certainly if there's proof that someone has a right to be here, I absolutely think that they're respecting it. But that reporter was really being more of an activist because what she was basically saying is that you shouldn't enforce immigration law at all. She was upset that some of the people that were identified in this most recent Operation Tidal Wave that we did had not been convicted of additional felonies. But that's not the standard that we use. They're in the country illegally. Many of these people had already gone through an immigration process and were actually given final orders of deportation. What,
Yes.
Are we just supposed to turn our eyes on that?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's
I think a lot of this stuff is phony narratives.
That's an amazing part of the story when I was going through the details of this Operation Tidal Wave that you carried out. And I have to believe this is true in many other states across the country, that you've got hundreds of people who already have an order to be removed from the country because they have criminal behavior, and they're just still sort of walking around. How did you find these people? What's your sense of how many more there are outside of these 1,000 in Florida?
Well, so nationwide, we think it's close to 900,000 illegal aliens that are currently under active deportation removal orders. We think in Florida, it's certainly at least tens of thousands, maybe as much as 70 or 80,000. And so with our operations that we just did with ICE, that was obviously part of the component. We've also submitted plans. It's now been made public about additional we can do. We're very good at emergency response in Florida. We can set up centers to house these folks before they get deported. We can do raids ourselves. And so we think if you just focused on those folks who've already been ordered, because you hear a lot about due process. And on the one hand, obviously, you want to make sure somebody is actually here illegally. But on the other hand, deportation is not a punishment. You don't get an O.J. Simpson trial before you can be deported. And so I think the president is finding that happy medium in spite of a lot of judicial resistance. So the reality is you have that. But when they've already been ordered, they've already gone through a lot of this.
That is the process.
That should be low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see more in Florida for sure because we've put such a strong emphasis on this.
It's stunning that the last administration let 900,000 people who had criminal deportation orders already on them to just continue wandering around the country. And they have already had the process, is the great point that you're making there. Governor, thank you very much. Always good to see you, sir.
Thanks.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.